Welcome back to Movies Outpost. Today's recap is of a horror film just released, titled Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. A movie where Winnie the Pooh and Piglet turn into sadistic savages. But best of all, Winnie no longer enjoys honey and prefers it mixed with some blood. If you've got an appetite for horror recaps, you'll enjoy this one. And as always, spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey begins with a young boy known as Christopher Robin. He finds adolescent crossbreeds in a forest. The abominable mutations slowly became very good friends and dependent on Christopher. Their names were Owl, Rabbit, Eeyore, Piglet, and Winnie the Pooh. Let's have a look at the original and compare it to the new. Quite similar appearances if you ask my opinion, but anyways, back to the story. As Christopher got older, he made the hard decision to go to college, making the animals fend for themselves once again. One winter, the unspeakable happened.
One fateful night, on the brink of starvation, Pooh decided that in order to survive, the group must consume one of their dearest friends. And thus, Eeyore was no more.
This warped and changed the minds of the remaining 4 mutations, vowing to never speak again as they renounce anything human, including Christopher Robin. 5 years later, Christopher takes his wife, Mary, into the forest. He wishes to show her his childhood friends so she doesn't think he's crazy. As they trek through the woods, Christopher finds the location of his friends. Mary is concerned, saying something doesn't feel right.
Christopher, we need to leave. We shouldn't be here.
He tells her he'll protect her as they walk around and notice a very sinister-looking place. They go inside the main house and find Christopher Robin's photo being disfigured, and this is when they decide to leave. They hear loud footsteps and, while panicking, immediately go to hide. Christopher hides under the bed and Mary hides behind a board. As the door opens, they remain silent and wait until they feel it's safe to go. They stay in the room until dark when they finally open the door and try to sneak away. Mary tells Christopher to hurry up as chains wrap her neck. Christopher is shouting for Piglet to stop and tries to do something, but he is useless and takes off as Mary is killed. Christopher then runs out of breath, and to his horrific surprise, Winnie the Pooh appears. He pleads and begs with him to let him go, but there is no mercy from how he abandoned them, and both Piglet and Winnie take him to a dark cave where they will deal with him. We then jump right into the middle of a therapy session. A woman named Maria tells her psychologist that everything puts her on edge, that the traumatic incident, not yet mentioned, has changed her life. The psychologist tells her that maybe a holiday with friends can help to slow down her world and let her adjust to it. After taking the advice, she embarks on a trip with her friends. Their names are Lara, Jessica, Zoe, and Alice. Once they arrive, they all surrender their phones for a digital detox weekend. However, when another friend is en route and tries to call them, they don't answer, so she goes searching for them in the nearby woods. Spotting a figure in the distance, she takes off running and seeks refuge in a workshop-like structure. But upon coming out of hiding, she is grabbed by Winnie the Pooh, who attacks her mercilessly, rendering her unconscious. He then proceeds to use her to make a concoction of blood mixed with honey. Back at the house, Maria informs her friends of the reason she's been off so lately. A sick man was spying and stalking her to the point where he even entered her house. However, the man was detained, but that doesn't remove the trauma she still has. Back at Winnie the Pooh's hideout, we see bloody hooks, skeletal remains, and a beaten-up Christopher Robin. With a mix of blood and honey on Winnie's face, Christopher pleads with him to stop. The sadistic-looking bear looks itself in the mirror and has flashbacks of when they were friends. It has a tantrum and begins to break things and goes back to torturing Christopher. After a while, it decides to leave him, as Christopher looks at his friends sitting next to him. Back at the house, Jessica and Maria hear loud screams and come running back from a walk. They see Lara dead on the ground. They begin screaming as they rush inside. The other 2 girls are looking at the windows where "Get Out" is spelt in blood. They need to escape, and they hold each other's hands as they look around the corner and see Winnie the Pooh. They hide in the dark and make a plan to split into 2 groups. Maria runs to her cabinet and pulls out a heavy-duty pistol. The other 2 arm themselves with a knife and go inside the pool room. They stop moving as they hear footsteps on top of them. Alice is scared to death, and simultaneously Piglet knocks Alice out. Zoe then jumps into the pool to protect herself. Quite a dumb idea if you ask me. Piglet then puts the sledgehammer down and grabs its chains. It tries to hook Zoe with it but is not able to do so, so it picks up its hammer and goes for a swim as well. It starts swinging, and after missing the first few shots, it finally connects. It keeps swinging as Alice regains some consciousness and witnesses her best friend getting beat to a pulp. She then passes back out again. The other 2 girls are upstairs and watch Winnie the Pooh leave the house. They go searching for the other girls and go into the pool room. They see Zoe dead in the pool and Piglet carrying Alice away on its shoulder. They decide to follow the 2 abominations. After Winnie gets home, it ties Alice on an altar and begins eating its blood honey. It keeps eating until Alice wakes up. It goes towards her and smacks her till she goes unconscious. Maria and Jessica find Alice tied up and sneakily go and untie her. They begin walking out as they hear someone screaming from a house. They look inside to find Christopher tied up. They untie him as well, but he tells them to go ahead as he will slow them down. They go ahead and find another random lady crying to herself. They cannot believe their eyes and release her. As they walk off, the lady sees her face in the reflection and begins screaming. She loses her mind and grabs the gun off Maria and runs in the middle of the camp. She starts swearing and screaming for Winnie and Piglet to come out. She fires random shots around the camp and Piglet reveals itself. She aims the gun at him and pulls the trigger, but the moron used the clip beforehand. Winnie comes from behind and grabs her. He yanks her to the ground and starts pouring honey on her face, mixing with the blood. Piglet takes this as an appetizer, and while eating, the other girls scream and get noticed. They take off to run, but Alice tries to hide instead. It works as Winnie runs past her. She grabs the sledgehammer and smacks Piglet, knocking him out. Maria and Jessica are almost cornered by Winnie but take their chances in the dark forest instead. Piglet wakes up being tied to an altar. Alice is furious from her best friend dying and starts laying into Piglet. She finally does a massive hit, killing it. Winnie notices the cry of his abominable friend and starts running back to camp. As she stands over Piglet, Winnie yanks her off the ground and swiftly ends her life. Jessica starts screaming at this scene, prompting Winnie to start chasing them again. As they keep running for dear life, they find a car driving. They begin yelling and 4 men come out of the car. The girls say they need help and Winnie reveals himself. The men grab some tools and walk towards Winnie. They surround him and start a fight. It seems like they're winning until it backfires and each one of them die horrifically. The 2 girls jump in the car and drive off, only for Winnie to jump on the Utes' back. Upon looking at their options, they crash the car. Upon waking up, Maria sees Jessica being dragged away. Winnie then shows a dead Jessica and throws her onto the car. Maria tries to start the car as Winnie walks towards her but eventually is ripped out of her seat. He sits her down and from nowhere Christopher rams a car into Winnie. He gets out and tells Maria it's all over, but he is wrong, and Winnie moves the car and grabs Maria. Christopher begs him to leave her, even offering himself as a trade, but Winnie doesn't care and kills Maria. Christopher starts walking off as he sees Winnie just toying around with Maria as he saves himself. That's the end. I know this was a weird recap, but put your thoughts in the comments below. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.